Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is May 15, 2023, and we're getting into the volume 91 of me answering your immigration related questions. As you can see, I have all of your comments pulled up in front of me. Before I begin, as always, I'm going to mention I am not an immigration attorney. This is not a legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin. So let's start with the very first question, comment from FZN.Nazari. Hello, and thank you for your time and help. You're very welcome. Thank you for watching. I'm currently residing in Germany and my intended spouse is a permanent resident of the United States. I came across your videos and noticed that you mentioned the form I-130 in relation to marriage-based immigration. I was wondering if this is the only form required for the entire application process, or if there are additional forms that need to be completed for initial registration. I am in need of all the forms that are relevant to this process, and I would greatly appreciate any guidance or information you can. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter. Thank you very much for your question. Great question. So whenever it comes to starting the family reunification process, whether it's based on marriage, whether it's parents, kids inviting the parents, US citizens, they have ability to petition for their siblings. Yes, the form that you're using is the I-130 form. I actually do have a video on this channel. It's I don't remember exactly. I'm going to find that link for the video and I'm gonna paste it into my response in the comment. But check it out. Basically in that video I described the full process briefly, from start to finish. And in order to start the process, yes, you start with USCIS with the form I-130. I would recommend, as soon as you guys decide to, get married and stuff, filing that form as soon as possible, because the process is, it involves a few different steps. You wait first with USCIS. Once USCIS approves your petition, it's transferred to the NVC for further processing. Once NVC documentarily qualifies you, it's transferred to the local US embassy for the actual interview to get the immigrant visa. And of course, between all of those steps, there is processing that is involved, there's the document submission, so there is some time that is involved in the whole process. But I will show you where to find this petition in order to start, and you can start doing research on the form itself, on what documents are needed. It's pretty straightforward. There's really I would say the hardest part about this whole process is the wait, because there's a lot of waiting involved. There's a lot of patience that is needed. But we're gonna go to uscis.gov. This is official government website for US Citizenship and Immigration Services. This is the front page. You can find this link in the description of this video. So at the very top navigation menu, you see there's forms. We're gonna click on that, and then we're gonna click on all forms. And this will give you all of the immigration applications, petitions that are available out there. We need the I-130, so you can either scroll down, it's all alphabetical numerical order, or you can just type in 130. And there you go, petition for alien relative. This is the official name for the petition. And as you can see, it is available to file online, which I highly recommend. If whoever's watching these videos, even if you're not doing anything with the I-130 specifically, if you're dealing with the immigration process and the petition, the application is available to file online, I highly recommend filing online, because it prevents from making a lot of mistakes that you could potentially make on the paper application. Second, once you fill out everything, once you upload the documents, the scanned versions of the documents into the application, into the online application, once you pay for it, immediately it is transferred and it is already at USCIS. So you completely cut out the the mailing and waiting for them to review and accept that application. You don't have to deal with any of that. But here it is right here. If you want to take a look and familiarize yourself with the application itself without actually starting it, you can scroll down a little bit and you will see right here in this drop down at the very top, forms and documents. We're going to click on that. There's a PDF version of this application, so I would recommend going through the application itself so that you're familiar what the online application will ask from you. If you have any questions along the way, you can find them here in the instructions. So each particular section, each particular part of the application is actually described in detail in the instructions itself. So I would definitely recommend reading one of those. And of course, if you have any questions along the way, along the process, you can always come back to this channel and ask them in the comments below. As many questions as everyone who's watching these videos, as many questions as you have, you're always welcome to ask as many as you have. So I'll never say, oh, too many questions, because your questions allow me to make this video. So I'm grateful for those. And I will actually update this comment with the link once I find the video for that actual the full process from start to finish of the family reunification process. All right, let's move on to the next one from David Adelani. My case was approved by USCIS. Congratulations, that's great news, and has been transferred to NVC to begin documentary qualification process. Yes, but if I'm still a single man now planning to get married by 5 months time, okay, please can I upgrade my status from single to married on NVC portal when I get married? I mean before my documents approved by NVC and visa available. Okay, David, excellent question. So let's see. So your case has been approved. So I'm assuming in your case that you're talking about the I-130 petition. I'm assuming that you're a beneficiary. If you're a petitioner, then it really doesn't matter. Okay, you will be showing most likely. You might have, unless you're already documentarily qualified, which doesn't sound like you are yet. In that case, yes, as a petitioner, of course, most likely you would have to provide updated. Possibly. It depends on how much time you have to wait. So, for example, financial documents. I'm referring to financial documents. For example, because NVC refers the most recent 2 years of tax returns, right? So, your most recent tax returns right now, because you're single, you're filing as a single, head of household, single. If you're waiting for another 2-3 years, right, with the NVC before you're allowed full access to become documentarily qualified with NVC, then obviously, if you get married in the next 5 months, then your tax situation will change from single to married. And obviously, your most recent tax returns are not going to be filed as single, but will be filed as married, which now changes your household size. So if you're petitioning, let's say, for one person, then you would have had to show enough income for the household size of 2. Now that you will be married, if you're a petitioner, because a petitioner has to be a sponsor, now if you're petitioning for one person and you get married, now you will be showing, you will have to show enough income for the household size of 3, because it is now you and your wife on your tax returns. And hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, if something is confusing, let me know and I'll try to clarify in the next video on that particular issue, because I know it's a little bit it is a little bit confusing. It really is a lot of playing with numbers and checking and make sure that as a sponsor you're meeting the required income for the household size. And for example, if you're petitioning for 2 people instead of 1 person, then of course, with your wife, if it's 2 people on tax returns and you're petitioning for 2 people, that's household size of 4, if that makes sense. But if you're not the petitioner, if you're beneficiary in this case, then yes, of course, you would definitely need, it's very important to have your wife added to the I-130 application so that once you're documentarily qualified, your wife comes as derivative beneficiary. That's what it's called. So beneficiary is the main recipient of that immigrant visa based on the I-130 petition, and the derivative beneficiary is the one who is has a relationship, like kids who are under 21, and of course spouses. It's very simple, straightforward process to do the update. All you're doing is you're reaching out to NVC through email. You can actually do it through NVC portal, and just letting them know that I haven't, my situation updated. I used to be single, now I am married. So they will ask you some documents to prove that you're married, which is very simple. It's just a marriage certificate. You're just showing them the marriage certificate, and then her information, her birth certificate, passport, all of that sort of stuff, same stuff that is for you. And that's really it, pretty straightforward. So let me know if you have any questions along the way, and I will be happy to follow up on that and give you more clarification. All right, let's move on to the next one from J.A. Breeder Jr. My I-130 was accepted in 2011. It's been 12 years. Oh, wow. And nothing yet. Okay, I'm on F4 category. I'll probably be dead by the time it is approved. Meanwhile, people on the Mexican borders are being given a red carpet to enter the US. Brito, it's true. It's really sad, but I can't argue with you. You're 100% spot on. You're 100% correct. In fact, just yesterday I was doing the responses, doing these videos, and there was a similar comment about the situation with the border, and the reason for that is, of course, media exposure. It's a media exposure. There is so much media attention whenever it comes to the issue of the border, and that's why we see all of the politicians chasing that spotlight in the media. They all want to be talked about in the media, so they all talk about the stuff that is popular in the media. So border crisis is one of those issues. Unfortunately, whenever it comes to family immigration, unfortunately it's not a hot topic at all. So nobody talks about immigrants like you, Brito, waiting for years. And you're right, F4 category, I can personally relate. I have a petition for my brother that I have been only waiting for 2.5, maybe 3 years now, and I will be waiting for another 13 years roughly. But you've been waiting already 12 years, so depending on which chargeability area you're from, it's roughly, so if it was accepted 2011, if we look at the visa bulletin for the F4 for all chargeability areas is 2008. So 2008, 2011, that your petition been, so 3 years roughly. So you have roughly another 3 years if you're in all chargeability area to wait until you're given full access to the NVC portal to become documentarily qualified, and then roughly another year and a half after becoming documentarily qualified to wait for that availability of the immigrant visa. So on the plus side, you've done most of the waiting, all right? On the negative side, of course, it's still ridiculously long time, and still you have to wait another roughly 3-4 years for the completion of the process. And yes, it is absolutely crazy. Doesn't seem like anything is going to change whenever it comes to family immigration, unfortunately, because we see it every month. Whatever they're called, the Immigration Lawyer Association, that are supposedly representatives of the people, they meet with a representative from the Department of State, and they ask the questions, and you will see, you can go through these transcripts of what the questions are, of what the answers are, and you will see that the first things that are addressed are always investment stuff, it's always the employment based stuff, and then at the very end there's one, maybe two questions about the family immigration, and it's a very boilerplate response that just means absolutely nothing. It is sad, but that's the reality of things, because we live in the world where, well, at least our materialistic world of the flesh, where devil is the ruler and it's all about money. So you see stuff that is in the media, that is in the politics, only that has to do with money. And whenever it comes to family immigration, there isn't really any money involved. The only thing that is involved that you would think would be important is the family itself. But whenever it comes to money, unfortunately, family means nothing. It's really sad, really, really sad. All right, let's move on to the next comment from Sirgut. Again, Sirgut, thank you. I appreciate another question, another comment. Well, as always, thank you for being publicly subscribed. This is what this thing means right here. My brother, I asked you a question yesterday and I heard your answer. Thank you, my brother. You are a good person. God bless you. Thank you very much, Sirgut. I appreciate your kind words. As you know, I was documentarily qualified on February 15, 2023. Yes, my priority date is December 2016. Visa class F2B. It's my mother who started my process. She's permanent resident. My question today is one. Unless my final action date, not current, does it mean that NVC will not be scheduled my interview? Yes, Sir Good, although it's not the NVC technically that schedules your interview, once you're documentarily qualified, like right now you're already documentarily qualified. So chances are that your case is no longer sitting at NVC, but it is already forwarded to the local US embassy. So it is already there. The only thing that you are waiting for now is basically for them to just schedule your interview. And they schedule the interview, two things. Once your immigrant visa is already available, and number two is once they have the actual opening. Because from US embassy to US embassy, depending on where they are, obviously some embassies are a little bit busier than others. So some people, that's why you see some people are documentarily qualified, and they're, if they look at the visa bulletin, their visa should be available, but they're still waiting, 6 months, 8 months for the interview to be scheduled. That's because the local US embassy is busier than in some other countries, specifically whenever it comes to those immigrant visas interviews. All right, and the question two, if I'm not bothering you, not at all. Not at all. Please let me know if the US Embassy in Ethiopia is currently working on F2B visa now. So I can't unfortunately tell you because it's very embassy specific and it's really their scheduling. You can take a look sometimes, and sometimes. You can take a look sometimes on their scheduling for non-immigrant visas. Most of the times, especially now, you cannot even do that, even on non-immigrant visas, because they actually make you fill out the DS-160, I think it's called, for the non-immigrant visa, and then to pay the fees, and only once you do that, they actually give you the access to their scheduling system where you can select the available appointment. Most of the times, you cannot do that unless you actually filled out the application and paid the application. On the plus side, Sir Good, you already did that. You filled out the application, you paid the application DS-260 on the NVC portal. So you're already done with that. So what I would recommend you do, if you want to do that, you don't have to, but it's worth a shot. You can actually, and we'll do that together. We'll go to the website called US Embassy, embassy.gov, and you are in Ethiopia. So let's find Ethiopia. Actually, Ethiopia. So this is Ethiopian language. I gotta visit this country one of these days. Ethiopia. So here we go. Let's see if there's multiple. No, looks like there's only one in Addis Ababa. And what is embassy switchboard? Is that a phone number? So, Sir Good, you would know better. I would think this is a phone number, but let's check the website itself. Maybe we can find that. Oh yeah, there you go. So here's the phone number for them. Here's the phone number. Give them a call. Give them a call. Just be polite, be professional, Say, I was already documentarily qualified. My immigrant visa should already be available, judging by the visa bulletin. I wanted to ask if you can give me the information on your scheduling so that I can approximate when my interview will be scheduled. Sometimes you can get a nice person on the phone who will say, sure, no problem. And they will take a look in their scheduling system and they will tell you, oh yeah, our immigrant visa appointments are backed up for the next 3-4 months. So you can kind of roughly estimate you're waiting for another 3 or another 4 months. Don't be upset if they don't give you any information, because it is at their discretion, and a lot of times they just say, no, we can't give you that information. But it is worth a shot. It's worth a shot, because if you do get the answer, why not? Nice. All right, let's move on to the next one from Bill B. Nice, thank you, Bill. You're very welcome. I hope you found my answer helpful. Well, let's move on further. From Edmund Rommel. Hello, sir. I would like to know why the USCIS estimate decision time is not respect and they are increased 6 months. Yeah. On the case and the time, they're already said before it 5 months. Yeah. When the 5 arrived, they're increasing 6 months. On it course, what can I do, because it I-130 US citizen file. Wow. Edmund, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. It did happen recently. Couple of, as far as I know, I'm not sure which service center you are in, but I'm pretty sure it was Texas. and I think it might have been Nebraska or California, I don't know. But I did get a few comments. I don't remember which specific service center it was, but it's exactly the same story. Now, I suspect that it happened because they did have a backlog. It's just that they did not update it on time. Because think about it, if they did update it on time, you would have seen it gradually become more. So by months, but because it went up the whole 6 months, it shows that they were not updating their system. Their system was not updating for quite a long time, at least 6 months, that is. It's really sad that now, you already waited 5 months and now another 6 months, that's almost a year. A whole year you have to wait for a spouse. As a US citizen, for their spouse, you have to wait almost a whole year. And that is just with USCIS. Because once you're approved with USCIS, it's going to the NVC, and then you're dealing with the NVC, and then you're dealing with the interview. So there is some time involved. So you will be waiting for some time. So I really wish you some patience. And like I said, I'm not saying these things as someone just, be patient. Because I myself have a petition. But Edmund, on the plus side, your spouse is in the immediate relative category. Which means that once you are documentarily qualified with NVC, the immigrant visa is already available. So the case is transferred to the US Embassy. As soon as US Embassy schedules the interview, your spouse goes, gets the visa, that's it, done. Comes to the United States already as a permanent resident, all right? A few things that you can do, and I would encourage you to do those things, is yes, you commented on the video how to make expedited requests with USCIS. Do that. It's worth a shot. Try to submit an expedited request with USCIS. Once your petition is approved by USCIS and transferred to the NVC, have everything prepared. All of the documents, all the civil documents, all the financial documents. In fact, I have a video on this channel. It's called Documentarily Qualified. What does it mean? And on that video, I'm showing the actual NVC portal that was already documentarily qualified. Person already got immigrant visa. They already came and got their permanent resident card. But in that video, I show all of the documents that are required, all of the steps that are involved in becoming documentarily qualified. That is, filling out the DS-260, filling out the affidavit of support, I-865 or I-864, always horrible with numbers, and of course submitting all the civil documents and paying the fees, the immigrant visa fee, and then the affidavit of support fee. So just be prepared as much as possible. Do as much of a research as possible. Submit, expedited request with USCIS. Once you are, your case is in NVC, submit the expedited request with NVC. And then once you are documentarily qualified, call the local US Embassy and ask them, hey, how long do you guys think what the scheduling system looks like? Always be polite, professional in your, letters, calls that you're making, but stay on top of the case. Don't let it just, go, because if you let it go with stuff like this, you are taken advantage of, unfortunately. So Edmund, I wish you patience. I wish you luck. If you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to come back to this channel and ask them. I will be happy to, address them. All right, let's move on to the next one from Sok people. Sok, thank you very much for another comment. Appreciate it. Thanks for your answer. Always, anytime. My question, and I am still wondering, the case processing in Texas Service Center is only 43.5 months in Joe Biden immigration reforming policy, and this 80% adjudicated case over the last 6 months, and then now my case is already in NVC, which just worked through the 12th step of its role and takes time from 1 year or 2 years termination. That is why, but NVC should keep waiting for the priority date meet the current soon. If we compare with Visa Bulletin, it will last 12-13 years, more like you said. Yes. And could you explain me the length of time of NVC and role of it, please? Yes, of course. So NVC, National Visa Center, it's I wouldn't call it a branch or a department, but it's part of the Department of State Consular, Bureau of Consular Affairs. Basically the body that is responsible for, dealing with all the immigrant visas, whether they're employment-based or family-based, all right? The role of the NVC, the documentarily qualification, what is it, right? They qualify you for the immigrant visa. And then the US Embassy, which is obviously also part of the Department of State, they're under Department of State, all the US embassies, they are under the Department of State, again, Bureau of Consular Affairs. They're the ones who actually issue you the visa. So NVC, what they do is they prepare you for the immigrant visa, and then they hold on to your case, basically waiting for the availability of the immigrant visa. The reason why a lot of times the wait is ridiculously long, like 12, 13 years, 15, 16 years, In some situations, look, if we take a look, this is for all chargeability areas we're talking about. If we look at the force preference category, all right, for Mexico, that is the longest of all. You will see that it is April 2001. That is 22, and if we look at the documentarily qualified, August 2000. That is 23 years. People waiting from Mexico, think about this, right? Think about this, how messed up this whole situation is. People, obviously the immigrants who came as immigrants, clearly came legally, and they're now petitioning for their children, in this case, force preference category, it's a US citizen who became a US citizen, is naturalized US citizen. They're petitioning for their brother or sister in Mexico, legally, paying all the fees, submitting all the documents, doing everything the right way. They're waiting 23 years to get the immigrant visa. 23 years. Or you can just jump over the border and there is no wait. Where is anything that is smart, fair, or in general righteous about this system? This system demonstrates how ignorant the people are who are sitting in Congress. They do not understand what they're doing. And I was explaining I wanted to explain, I think, to Edmund, but I'll say it now. If Edmund, you're still watching, whenever it comes to why we're waiting for so long, is because of the backlog. Because the availability of the immigrant visas is limited for these categories. For first, second, third, and fourth preference categories. It's limited. All right, so unless you're in immediate relative category, there is a limited availability of the immigrant visa, which means that if there is more I-130 petitions in a year than the available visas, you have the backlog accumulated and roll over to a next year. Clearly, if you have it in this year, you will have the same situation next year, and then the next year, and then the next year, and then the next year, which means that the backlog will only keep on growing, becoming more and more and more, accumulating and accumulating, and there is really no stop unless these limitations. And you can actually, if anyone is interested on the limitations on how many immigrant visas are available, you can actually see them, because they try to kind of explain their system here in this, all of this written. There's 140,000 visas, family sponsor preference limited to 226,000 a year. And if you want to actually see the number of visas that are issued, you can find them in visa statistics if you want to dig deeper and see exactly how many visas are issued. But it kind of raises the question what the point of that limitation is. Because, if you're filling everything out, you're doing it legally, you're going through all these interviews and background checks. So clearly, these are not bad people. These are not some criminals, murderers, whatever. No, nothing like this. You can't do that, because you will be, that's inadmissibility. That's the inadmissibility clause. So you have to go through these FBI background checks, every 6 months doing the biometrics. You have to go through these interviews, sometimes through courts, medical examinations. So these people are not sick, all right? They're not coming to poison or contaminate anything. You're paying a bunch of fees. These are expensive applications. And moreover, the point of being a petitioner sponsor, what does it mean? What does it mean being a sponsor for an immigrant, for the relative that you're inviting? It means that you take full responsibility for that person coming to the United States, meaning that anything happens with that person, they cannot rely on the government for any kind of financial support. There is no financial, some kind of benefits, like Medicaid or, I don't know, food stamps, whatever programs are available, right? Government support programs. They can't claim any of that. You are the sponsor. So it's not like something is given out of pocket of the government or American taxpayer or anything like that. No, these people coming here legally through medical examinations, so no diseases, nothing, if that's what you're worried about. They already established that there is a financial support for them. They come here legally, they have their permanent resident card once they come in, so they are immediately able to work legally in the United States. So what's the problem? What's the limitation for? I don't know. I really don't know, but to me it's just the ignorance of our politicians who chase authority, chase power, chase money. That's the only things they care, and that's why we have the field of immigration whenever it comes to families neglected that bad. So unfortunately, at the end of the day, we're all kind of for ourselves. That's one of the reasons why I started this channel, because I myself went through the process, and if I can share a little bit of experience and can help someone, then that's it. It's a blessing for me. So thank you everyone for your questions. Thank you for tuning in today for this video. If you have any follow-up questions, like I said, do not hesitate to ask as many as you need. Appreciate your time. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.